Today, we got hit with a brand new Bungie Weekly update, revealing a bunch of new official Destiny 2 information. The highlight for this week is that Bungie actually went over all of the different exotic armor pieces they're buffing in the next update and detailed exactly what changes they are bringing. And guys, just like last time, there are some massive buffs. And so, let's get started. What is up, guys? Rick Cactus here, and today we have quite a lot of really awesome Destiny 2 news. These exotic buffs look pretty sweet, but before we move on to those, firstly, we have some other information to go over. Number one, Gambit. Now, Gambit is the brand new game mode coming to Destiny 2 with the Forsaken expansion. It was playable at E3, but understandably, not a lot of people got to get out to E3 and experience it. But it's also going to be playable, remember, at GuardianCon 2018, which I am also attending. So I wanted to bring that up. If you are going to GuardianCon, Bungie is going to have a presence there and Gambit will be playable, which is pretty darn sweet. By the way, I never plug my merch because I always forget, but if you are wearing a Cactus HD like t-shirt or something, I will definitely go out of my way to come up and say hello at GuardianCon. But moving on from there, the next big announcement is the next faction rally. I think faction rallies have been massively improved with all of the changes. The renown system is a little bit more fun and engaging than just doing the same lost sector again and again and again. And the next one is going to arrive next Tuesday, which is June 26th at 10 a.m. Pacific. Now, just remember that when you pledge to a certain faction, that is account-wide and it lasts for the entire event. So, let's say, hypothetically, you pledged to New Monarchy last time and you got to around level 30. You didn't quite get all the way to level 50. Well, you can pledge to them again and finish off your rankings, get to rank 50, get the exotic catalyst, but then that's it. You can't then move to Dead Orbit after. You're with New Monarchy the entire time. So something I would recommend doing is, if that's the case for you, pledge to a different faction. Like if you pledged to New Monarchy previously, pledge to Future War Cult, for example, this time level them up, and then do some research and watch some videos on the exotic catalysts for those two factions, figure out which one is the one you really want, and then for the last faction rally, pledge to that one, finish it off. Of course, if you're a beast, you can just pledge to all three different factions, finishing them off week after week after week. But that is the announcement of the next faction rally. There really isn't too much more to talk about because nothing really is changing from last time. But now let's move on and talk about the exotic armor. This is definitely the highlight for this weekly update. So, last time, 2 different armor pieces for each of the different classes got updated. Now 3 for each of the different 3 classes are getting buffed, and these changes are going to arrive with the next big update, update 1.2.3, and that's coming on July 17th. So let's get it started here with what may not be the best class, but is certainly the thickest class in the game, the Titan. First off, we have the ACD-0 Feedback Fence Exotic Gauntlets. So the changes are, now it grants Fury Conductor stacks on melee hits instead of melee kills. That little change is going to make a world of difference. Also, Fury Conductors now grants stacking melee damage resistance, so you're much harder to kill as you gain more stacks of Fury Conductor, and those stacks are easier to acquire because you don't need a kill, you just need a hit. So the justification for these changes is, these changes were mostly aimed at making Fury Conductors better in PvE encounters. While the feedback fence could protect you from hordes of Thrall by keeping them staggered, it just wasn't that much use against something like a Hive Knight wielding a sword. The changes also make this exotic better in the Crucible, but the solution of just shooting opponents still works. So, this could actually propel the feedback fence into a reliable choice, especially if you are a melee-focused build. Moving on from there, we have the Doomfang Pauldron's Exotic Gauntlets. So, the changes are, number 1, Void melee kills now grant more super energy. Also, shield throw hits will now extend the duration of your super. That last change is very significant. Like, if that's a pretty big chunk of extra super you get just by hitting an enemy with a shield throw, and remember, your shield will bounce from enemy to enemy to enemy. It's easy to hit like 5 basic enemies with one shield throw. Is that going to extend your super by 5 chunks? Like, that is significant. The justification was Titans have a lot of exotics that help you with punching things. To differentiate this one from the rest of the herd, we've increased the impact this exotic has on your super and how you use it. Which is a totally fine justification, except for that's kind of the same thing they did with the Syncoceps, but I digress. Moving on to the next exotic being buffed, we have the Dune Marcher's exotic leg armor. So, the first change is that they reduced the time to activate linear actuators while you are sprinting to 1.5 seconds, down from 5 seconds. That's insane, guys. Going from 5 seconds to activate this perk down to 1.5, like, that is going to really change how often you're able to get this ability, and frankly make it a lot better, especially with the second change, which is increased the damage of the chain lightning effect. A 70% damage increase in PvP and a 440% damage increase in PvE. No, I did not read that wrong. 440% more damage. So the chances that you're going to, well, you're going to activate this so much faster, and then the chances that you're actually going to be able to kill your enemies when you're utilizing the linear actuators perk is significant. So I think the Dune Marchers, maybe they won't be top tier, but they're certainly going to be a lot more fun and effective to run in something like strikes or so on. Now, the justification was, while the lightning effect of Dune Marchers was novel, the time needed to start it up and its fairly low impact led to players simply seeing these as the sprint pants. So, we've made the lightning much more deadly and frequent. Well, they certainly have. Now it is time to move on to another class here. We have the Warlock. The first exotic being buffed is the Crown of Tempest's exotic helmet. So firstly, collapsed the total number of stacks of conduction tines to 3 with the same total effect. And each stack of conduction tines lowers the upkeep cost of Stormtrance. Their justification: Nezarec's Sin and this exotic were quite similar, so we pushed harder on this exotic for Stormcallers who want to invest heavily in ability use. Warlocks also don't have many exotics that modify their supers, and not receiving the full benefit of conduction tines during Stormtrance was a little disheartening. So we've added a benefit during the super's duration to alleviate that. So, in short, this exotic now lets you get your super much easier and makes your actual super much more effective. That's a pretty darn good combination. Moving on from there, we have the Karnstein Armlet's exotic gauntlets. The first change is that removed melee hit effects, resilience, mobility, targeting, highlighting, and now melee kills now instantly heal you, then grant continuous healing for 8 seconds. Wow, like, that's actually pretty effective. I use Voidwalker a lot just for the Devour perk, where melee kills instantly heal you. Well, in fact, you started off with a melee kill and then it's just normal kills, but still, that healing property is fantastic and so useful in so many different scenarios, even in raids. So this basically giving you kind of a different version of that, but also providing continuous healing for the trade-off of that you have to get those melee kills every time. Like, I think that's nothing to scoff at. Now, the justification was, in this iteration of the Karnstein armlets, we've simplified the exotic to be about death and healing. Previously, the effect was split between its hits and kills, providing inconsistent experiences. While the effect is much more basic now, it should be more reliable and more effective in most situations. Moving on from there, the last exotic for the Warlock being buffed is the Starfire Protocol exotic chess piece. And the change here is that Empowering Rift weapon damage hits now grant fusion grenade energy, 20%. That's actually pretty good if it's working how I think it's working, which is, you know, if you got an auto rifle and you go fully automatic, you just get a crap ton of fusion grenade energy. That seems really good. Put down an empowered rift when you're damaging Callus or something. You're going to grant the bonus to your entire team. It's already a very good thing to be doing. And then you're also going to be gaining fusion grenade energy like all the time, so you can like shoot a magazine, throw a fusion grenade, next magazine, fusion grenade. That seems like really, really good. The justification is, much as with the Lunafaction boots, we felt like giving a bonus to players who decide to go on the offensive with Empowering Rift rather than playing it safe with Healing Rift. Well, Starfire Protocol, like that actually, don't sleep on that for damage phases. I'm thinking for PvE that's going to be pretty significant. And moving on from there, the last, but certainly not least if you played any PvP, class we're going to cover is the Hunter. First thing getting changed is the Lucky Raspberry exotic chest piece. So now, they increased the chance to fully recharge your Arc Bolt grenade on Arc Bolt grenade hits. Also, guarantees a recharge on getting a full chain that hits 4 targets. Okay, that is actually really good, especially in PvE. You are very often getting an Arc Bolt grenade that hits 4 enemies, like against a bunch of Thralls, a bunch of Acolytes. It doesn't matter, enemies tend to group up, so that's really not too hard to accomplish. I do it all the time. And instantly guaranteeing you get another Arc Bolt grenade to use and potentially chain again and get another one. That's very, very powerful. And if the increase to the base chance of getting another Arc Bolt grenade is high enough, this could be used seriously in PvP, because as we all know, Arc Strider Hunters are pretty common in PvP, so something that gives you more Arc Bolt grenades is very powerful. Their justification is, while just about everyone could appreciate the theoretically infinite grenades Lucky Raspberry could generate, its purely random nature made many people shy away from it. With this change, your input will now affect the outcome, so plan your throws accordingly. Now moving on from there, we have the Stompy's exotic leg piece. So, the change is that they increased benefits while using strafe jump and triple jump. So, the justification is that the usage rate of Stompy's in the Crucible was fairly good, but since it mostly affected high jump, people were somewhat pigeonholed if they wanted to change up their air game. So, the other double jump varieties were tweaked to have more impact. So Stompy's is apparently going to affect a bunch of different jumps, and that's just great for people who don't like being delegated to have to use a certain jump style. Now, the last exotic we're going over today is the Young Ahamakura's Spine. Firstly, they removed the marking functionality. Next, they improved the Trip Mine Grenade's blast radius and throw speed, and made it so that your Trip Mine Grenades are harder to destroy. Lastly, solar ability hits now grant some Trip Mine Grenade energy, with their justification being the marking functionality, while useful in some circumstances as in the Crucible, did not have much merit in PvE, so we removed it to head in a better direction. Now, your Trip Mine Grenades are punchier and you can get access to them faster. Okay, so increasing the blast radius, like that doesn't maybe sound like the biggest, flashiest change, but it is very, very good because it's going to increase how often you're able to get lethal grenades or just significant chunks of damage out of opponents. And that's nothing to scoff at, especially if this blast radius increase is significant. Like if we're talking double the blast radius, holy crap, there's gonna be a lot more gunslingers in the Crucible, let's just say that. And so guys, that is really all there is to the major news announcements for this weekly update. Hope you enjoyed the video and found it informative. Now, if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. And if you guys want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.